This story is titled, My Daughter Has Brainwashed My Wife into Being Young Again, and I Think She's Cheating on Me. Hey everyone! Before we jump into today's video, I need your help. We've noticed the channel is losing some traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can support us. It's quick, free, and it helps us keep bringing you awesome content. Your support means the world. Let's keep this channel growing together. Thanks so much. Now let's start the video. Okay Reddit, I, 50 male, never thought I'd be one of those guys posting their life story here, but I honestly don't know where else to turn REN. This is gonna be a long one, so grab your popcorn, I guess. Been with my wife Sarah, 47 female, for 25 years, married for 23 of them. We met back in college. I was grinding through engineering. Yeah, typical Reddit engineer LOL, and she was doing marketing. Nothing crazy special about how we met. Just two broke college kids who kept running into each other at the campus coffee shop. I was awkward F, but somehow managed to get her number after like 3 weeks of making small talk about her marketing textbooks. Our early years were pretty much what you'd expect. Dated through college, got married right after graduation, probably too young looking back. But hey, we were in love, and jumped straight into the rat race. I landed a job at this engineering firm that made industrial cooling systems. Not exactly sexy work, but it paid the bills. Sarah started at this small marketing agency, making peanuts but loving the creative side of things. We did everything by the book, you know? Rented a crappy apartment, saved like crazy, ate more ramen than I care to admit, finally bought our first house in 2001. This tiny 3-bedroom in the suburbs that needed more work than the seller admitted, but it was ours. Had our first kid, Emma, a year after we got married. Sophie came along 3 years later. Life was busy, but good. I worked my way up from junior engineer to project lead, then department manager. Lots of late nights and missed dinners, but Sarah was supportive through all of it. She put her career on pause when the kids were young, did some freelance stuff from home. Once Sophie started school, she went back to work part-time, eventually landing this sweet gig managing social media for local businesses. We weren't rich or anything, but we did all right. Managed to put both girls through college without loans. Something I'm pretty proud of TBH. Took decent vacations every year. Built up a good retirement fund. Sarah and I had our normal married couple issues. Fights about money, me working too much, her wanting to redecorate the kitchen for the 3rd time, but nothing major. Emma was always the wild one. Straight A's, but also the kid who'd push boundaries. Study abroad in Barcelona, backpacking through Thailand after graduation, always coming home with crazy stories about her adventures. Sarah ate that stuff up, always wanted to hear every detail. Looking back, maybe I should have noticed how Sarah's eyes would light up whenever Emma talked about her living life to the fullest BS. Sophie's more like me, practical, quiet, likes routine. She's in her final year of accounting, which Emma calls selling your soul to capitalism. They've never been super close, but I always figured that was just different personalities. Everything was pretty normal until about 6 months ago, when Emma moved back home after finishing her MBA. Said she wanted to save money while job hunting in the city. I was actually happy about it. Thought it'd be nice to have the family together again, before she eventually moved out. Plus, Sarah was over the moon about having her bestie back home. The first couple weeks were fine. Emma would go to interviews, Sarah would go to work, I'd do my thing at the office. But then I started noticing little changes. Sarah suddenly needed a whole new wardrobe for work. Started wearing these tight dresses and heels that honestly looked uncomfortable F. When I asked about it, Emma jumped in saying mom needed to step up her professional image. Then came the social media obsession. Sarah barely used Facebook before. Mostly just posted pictures of our vacations and liked photos of the neighbors' kids. But Emma convinced her to get on Instagram and TikTok. Next thing I know, my 47-year-old wife is doing these weird dance challenges and posting gym selfies. Emma was hyping her up in the comments like "Yas Queen" and "Mom's serving looks." Had to Google what that even meant. I tried to be cool about it at first. Like maybe this is just some mother-daughter bonding thing? Sarah seemed happy, and Emma was actually spending time with her mom instead of just being on her phone all day. But something felt off. Started noticing Sarah was being weird about her phone, always keeping it face down, taking it with her even just to go to the bathroom, that kind of thing. Looking back now, I can pinpoint the exact moment I should have known something was really wrong. It was a regular Tuesday night, about a month after Emma moved back. I was working late, had this big project deadline, and when I got home around 8, the house was empty. No note, no text, nothing. Called Sarah, and she answered all giggly, saying she and Emma were having a girls' night at some new rooftop bar downtown. I could hear loud music and people laughing in the background. I remember sitting there in our quiet kitchen, still in my work clothes, looking at this meal prep container Sarah usually leaves for me when she knows I'm working late. But there was no container that night. It seems stupid now, but that missing container hit me harder than it should have. Like for 20 plus years, no matter what, Sarah always made sure I had dinner waiting if I was working late. That was the first night I couldn't sleep, just laying there thinking about how something felt wrong, but not being able to put my finger on it. Sarah came home around midnight, tipsy and wearing this crop top thing Emma had obviously convinced her to buy. When I asked how their night was, she just said, fun, and passed out. I should have said something then. Should have noticed how she didn't even kiss me goodnight like she usually did. But I told myself I was being paranoid. Told myself it was good that Sarah was having fun with our daughter. Man, I wish I'd known then what I know now. And their girls' nights started becoming a regular thing. Like 3 to 4 times a week regular. Sarah would come home late, sometimes not until 2 to 3 a.m., always with some excuse about networking or professional development events Emma had told her about. I started noticing more weird shit too. Sarah joined this gym Emma recommended. Some fancy boutique place downtown that cost more per month than our first apartment's rent. When I pointed out she could use the gym at her office for free, Emma jumped in with, Dad, Mom needs to invest in herself. Started seeing charges for these weird wellness workshops too. Stuff like awakening your inner goddess and embracing your sensual power. Not even kidding, that's what they were actually called. The real kicker came when Sarah started talking about this life coach she met through one of Emma's friends. Some guy named Brad, okay, not his real name, but whatever, who apparently specializes in helping women rediscover themselves. Found out later he's like 26 and his main job is bartending at this trendy cocktail place downtown. But according to Emma, he's so spiritually evolved. One night I'm doing the dishes, because Sarah's at another workshop, and Emma's phone goes off on the counter. Notification pops up from Brad saying, Mom's looking tonight. I kid you not. My stomach dropped to my feet. Emma came running in and snatched her phone up super quick, saying it wasn't what I thought. The next day, I tried talking to Sarah about it. Big mistake. She got super defensive, saying I was being controlling and stuck in outdated paradigms. Pretty sure she got that phrase from Brad. Emma sided with her mom, obviously, told me I needed to support Sarah's journey of self-discovery. Like WTF, does that even mean? Then came the weekend trips. Started with this wellness retreat in Miami. Sarah and Emma went together, said it was some mother-daughter bonding thing. Cool, whatever. But when they came back, Sarah had this whole new wardrobe from stores I've never heard of. Everything was either skin-tight or see-through. And the bikini pics they posted? Man, I love my wife, but there's age-appropriate and then there's whatever this was. About a month ago, I'm working from home because my car's in the shop. Around 11 a.m., Sarah says she's going to a meditation workshop. She's wearing this tiny dress I've never seen before and enough makeup for a night out. Emma offers to drive her there. They were gone for 6 hours. Later found out through Sophie that the meditation workshop was actually at some rooftop pool bar. The spending got crazy too. Started seeing all these charges at high-end lingerie stores, fancy restaurants I've never heard of, and something called Field on our credit card statement. When I Googled what Field was, yeah, that was fun to discover. For those who don't know, it's basically Tinder for people who are sexually adventurous. Trying to keep this post PG-13. Here's where it gets really messed up. Last week, I'm in the garage looking for my old golf clubs. Figured I need a hobby with all this free time I suddenly have, and I find this bag hidden behind some boxes. Inside, party outfits that would make a Vegas showgirl blush. Some, let's say, adult accessories. I definitely didn't buy her. And a bunch of hotel key cards from places around the city. When I confronted Emma about it, because at this point I know she's involved, she hit me with, Mom's just exploring her sexuality, Dad. It's totally normal at her age. Normal? In what universe is it normal for a 24-year-old to be encouraging her mom to go to sex parties? Sophie finally cracked and told me everything she knew. Apparently, Sarah and Emma have been going to these private parties at various hotels and clubs. Not just regular parties, we're talking full-on swinger events. And Emma's not just enabling it, she's actively helping set it up. She manages Sarah's alternative lifestyle social media accounts. Yeah, that's a thing. And helps her pick out outfits for these parties. The worst part? Found messages on our shared iPad. Rookie mistake on their part, between Emma and Brad discussing how Sarah's really opening up to the lifestyle, and how they should ease her into the more advanced parties. There were pictures too. Nothing explicit, thank God, but enough to make me sick to my stomach. I haven't confronted Sarah yet, partly because I'm still trying to process all this, and partly because I'm afraid of what else I might discover. How do you even begin to handle something like this? My wife of 23 years is basically living a double life as some party girl, and our daughter is her freaking social media manager party planner. Every time I try to talk to Sarah about any of this, Emma jumps in with some BS about how I'm threatened by mom's empowerment, or how I just don't understand modern relationships. Modern relationships? Since when does modern mean your wife sneaking around to sex parties while your daughter plays wingman? After all that, I decided to confront her. It started yesterday morning. Sarah told me she was going to a women's empowerment brunch with Emma. But one of my coworkers texted me saying he saw Sarah at this place called the Blue Lounge, one of those upscale day clubs that probably charges $20 for a beer. Said she was all over some young guy who looked like he walked straight out of a gym ad. Something in me just snapped. Like all these months of sketchy behavior and gaslighting just came to a head. I drove to the club, probably shouldn't have, but wasn't thinking straight. The bouncer actually felt bad for me when I explained the situation and let me in without paying the cover charge. And there they were. Sarah was wearing this tiny blue bikini I'd never seen before, sitting on some dude's lap. Not even Brad. Apparently there's more than one guy. Great. Emma was right there too, taking pictures of them like it was a damn photo shoot for her mom's alternative lifestyle Instagram or whatever. I just stood there for a minute, watching my wife of 23 years giggling and running her hands through this kid's hair. He couldn't have been older than 25. Emma spotted me first, and her face went white. She tried to intercept me, but I just walked right past her. The look on Sarah's face when she saw me, I'll never forget it. Not guilt, not shame, just pure anger that I'd shown up and ruined her fun. Her actual words, BTW. The guy she was with tried to act tough, but backed off real quick when I told him how old Sarah's kids were. Guess he didn't know he was hitting on someone who could be his mom, LOL. The argument that followed was intense. Right there in the middle of the club. Sarah screaming about how I never let her live, and how I'm suffocating her with my boring lifestyle. Emma jumping in defending her mom, saying shit like, "Dad, you don't own her," and mom deserves to explore herself. I lost it. Started listing off everything I knew. The swinger parties, the multiple guys. Yeah, turns out Brad wasn't the only one. The hotel receipts, all of it. The whole club got real quiet. Could see people pulling out their phones to record. If this ends up on TikTok, just kill me now. Sarah didn't even try to deny it. Instead, she hit me with, "Well, maybe if you weren't so boring and traditional, I wouldn't have to look elsewhere." Emma backed her up, saying how I'd suppressed mom's sexuality for years, and how this was all my fault for not being more open-minded. Then Sarah dropped the bomb. She's been planning to leave me anyway. Said she's outgrown me and our marriage. Apparently, she and Emma already found her an apartment downtown. They've been moving her stuff there little by little when I'm at work. That's why some of her clothes have been disappearing. I thought she was just decluttering. The kicker? They've been paying for the apartment with money from Sarah's special friends. Yeah, turns out these younger guys haven't just been showing her a good time. They've been bankrolling her new lifestyle. Emma knew about this too. Even helped set up the payment arrangements. My own daughter, basically helping her mom become I can't even type it. I walked out, just left them there. Drove home in a daze and started really looking around our house. Found a bunch of stuff missing that I hadn't noticed before. Family photos gone from the walls, her jewelry box empty, her favorite books gone from the shelf. They've been literally erasing her from our home piece by piece. Sophie came over when I called her. Poor kid broke down crying. Said she's been watching this train wreck for months but didn't know how to tell me. Showed me screenshots of conversations between Sarah and Emma planning all this. The parties, the guys, the apartment, everything. They've been laughing about how clueless I was. Called my lawyer right after. Thank God for 24/7 emergency lines. He's coming over tomorrow to start the divorce proceedings. Said all the evidence Sophie saved will help my case. The hotel receipts, the messages, the bank statements showing these guys supporting Sarah. It's all going in the file. Sarah hasn't come home. Emma called screaming about how I humiliated them at the club and ruined everything. Yeah, I'm the one who ruined everything. Not the mother-daughter duo playing sugar baby games with guys half their age. I'm sitting here in our empty-feeling house, trying to figure out how 25 years of marriage turned into this Jerry Springer episode. Keep looking at old photos from when we were young, when Emma was a little girl who thought I hung the moon instead of whatever she is now. Sophie's staying with me tonight. Says she doesn't want me to be alone. But honestly, I think she needs the comfort too. Her whole family just imploded in the trashiest way possible. It's been 4 days since the club incident, and everything's gotten even more insane if that's possible. Sarah finally came by to get more of her stuff yesterday. Brought Emma with her, of course, and some guy who looked like a wannabe MMA fighter to keep the peace. Joke's on them, though. Sophie and I weren't even there. We were at the bank sorting out the financial mess. So here's where it gets really wild. While we were at the bank, the manager, who's known us for years, pulled me aside. Turns out Sarah tried to empty our joint savings account last week. We're talking about our entire retirement fund here. Over 200,000. Thank God the manager thought it was suspicious and put a hold on it. Sarah had told them she needed it for emergency medical procedures. Yeah, right. More like a down payment on her midlife crisis. But that's not even the craziest part. Remember Brad, the life coach, from my earlier posts? Well, Sophie did some digging. She's got some scary good internet detective skills. Found his real social media, not the fake spiritual advisor profile he uses to lure in older women. Turns out he's got this whole network of guys who specifically target women going through midlife crises. They call themselves adventure guides, or some BS like that. These guys work like a team. They hang out at upscale bars and gyms, looking for women who fit their target profile. Married, 40 plus, financially comfortable. Then they slide into their DMS with all this spiritual awakening garbage. They've got it down to a science. First, it's just innocent flirting. Then they start with the whole, you deserve more routine. And finally, they convince these women to join their exclusive lifestyle community. Found a whole private Facebook group where these douchebags share tips about how to manipulate women. Sophie showed me screenshots. Wish she hadn't TBH. They've got actual guides on how to spot wedding rings, how to use words like empowerment and awakening to sound deep, even spreadsheets tracking their success rates. Makes me want to puke. The worst part? Emma knew about all of this. Not just knew, she was actively involved. Found messages between her and Brad from months ago where they literally planned how to help Mom break free. She met him at some club back in March, before she even moved back home. This whole thing wasn't some spontaneous mother-daughter bonding gone wrong. It was a calculated operation. Sarah's been completely brainwashed by these guys. When she came to get her stuff, she was spouting all their catchphrases like she was reading from a script. I'm finally living authentically. I'm embracing my divine feminine energy. My body is my temple, and I choose who worships at it. Actually gagged typing that last one. Found out they've got Sarah convinced she's going to be some kind of lifestyle guru herself now. She's already made business cards. Spiritual intimacy coach, with a bunch of crystals and zodiac symbols on them. Emma's handling her social media presence. They're planning workshops to help other women break free from the chains of traditional marriage. I wish I was making this up. One of my buddies sent me a link to Sarah's new Instagram account. Not going to share it here for obvious reasons. It's full of these pseudo-spiritual quotes over pictures of her in yoga poses and skimpy outfits. Emma's apparently charging $500 a pop to help other mature women set up similar accounts. They're turning this whole midlife crisis into a fucking business model. Sophie's been amazing through all this. She found messages showing that they tried to recruit her into their little scheme months ago. They wanted her to handle the financial side of Sarah's business venture, since she's good with numbers. Sophie told them to pound sand and blocked them both. That's why they've been treating her like an outsider all this time. The lawyer's having a field day with all this evidence. Apparently, Sarah's little lifestyle coaching business has already taken in about $30,000 from various clients. Victims is more like it. All while we're still legally married. She registered it as a sole proprietorship without my knowledge. Huge mistake on her part, according to the lawyer. My neighbor, retired cop, suggested I report Brad and his buddies to the FBI's fraud division. Says what they're doing is basically a sophisticated romance scam. Already filed the report, but who knows if anything will come of it. The really sad thing? Found an old journal of Sarah's while cleaning out the closet. She wrote about feeling old and invisible after Emma moved away to college. How she missed the excitement of being young. Normal stuff that lots of people probably feel at our age. But instead of talking to me about it or getting actual therapy, she fell for this predatory BS. And Emma, instead of helping her mom get real help, saw an opportunity to cash in. I'm getting therapy now, BTW. Lots of you suggested it in the comments. Therapist says I'm handling things remarkably well considering the circumstances. I think I'm just numb TBH. Like, how do you process your wife of 23 years turning into a completely different person? And your daughter being the one who helped make it happen? Sophie's looking for an apartment for us. Says we need a fresh start somewhere without all these memories. She's probably right. This house feels like a museum of a life that doesn't exist anymore. Like I mentioned before, Sarah and Emma were trying to turn this whole lifestyle thing into a business. Well, their little empire just came crashing down, and the fallout is even worse than I expected. It started when one of Sarah's clients, Another married woman they'd recruited into their BS had her husband find out about everything. Turns out the guy's a pretty heavyweight lawyer in the city. He didn't just get mad, he got even. He started digging into their whole operation, and holy shit did he find some dirt. Apparently, Sarah and Emma weren't just running empowerment workshops, they were basically running a high-end escort service. They'd recruit these married women, convince them they needed to explore their sexuality, and then connect them with these younger guys, like Brad and his friends, who'd shower them with attention for a price. The women would pay for lifestyle coaching sessions and exclusive events, but really they were paying to get matched up with these younger guys. Sarah and Emma would take a cut of everything: the coaching fees, the event tickets, even a percentage of the gifts these women would give to their boy toys. The lawyer guy, let's call him Mr. B, sent me everything he found: the spreadsheets tracking payments, the coded messages in their wellness group chat, even recordings of some of their coaching calls. Apparently, his wife had been recording everything because something felt off to her. It's like a trashy reality show crossed with a pyramid scheme. But here's where it gets really messed up. Found out Emma wasn't just helping run this thing, she was using her MBA knowledge to make it look legitimate. She set up all these fake wellness companies to process the payments, created contracts that looked professional, but were basically meaningless. Even had a whole marketing plan targeting specific types of vulnerable women. Sophie's friend works at the bank where Sarah set up her business accounts. She tipped us off that they were planning to take out loans using our house as collateral. Sarah still co-owns the house, so technically she could have done it. Thank God we caught it in time, and I got the lawyer to put a freeze on everything. The real bomb dropped yesterday, though. Sarah and Emma showed up at the house unannounced. Sarah was crying, first time I've seen her show any real emotion in months, and Emma looked like she hadn't slept in days. Turns out their whole operation is falling apart. Brad and his buddies? They've been running this same scam in 3 other cities. They're not just manipulating these women, they're blackmailing them. They've got pictures and videos of everything. Been using them to extort money from these women who are terrified their husbands will find out. Sarah finally broke down and told me everything. How it started with just some innocent flirting at the gym. Then Brad convinced her she was special and meant for bigger things. He introduced her to his lifestyle group, love-bombed her with attention, made her feel young and desirable again. Classic predator stuff. Emma got pulled in because she was there when Sarah first met Brad. Instead of warning her mom, she saw a business opportunity. She literally said, "Mom was going to do it anyway, so I figured I might as well help her do it right." My own daughter, treating her mom's affair like a startup venture. But now Brad's crew is demanding more money. They're threatening to release everything: pictures, videos, client lists, all of it. Sarah's terrified because some of their clients are pretty well known in our city. We're talking doctors' wives, executives, even a couple minor local celebrities. The worst part? Emma's been sleeping with Brad this whole time. Yeah, the guy who's been manipulating and extorting her mom? Emma's been dating him secretly since before any of this started. She admitted she helped him target Sarah because she thought it would help them bond as a family. I can't even process how twisted that is. Sophie's absolutely disgusted. When Emma tried to defend herself, saying it was all about female empowerment and financial independence, Sophie just looked her dead in the eyes and said, "You pimped out our mother." Never seen Emma shut up so fast. Mr. B, the lawyer whose wife was involved, is building a case against Brad and his crew. Says what they're doing counts as organized crime since it crosses state lines. He's already reported them to the FBI's cybercrimes unit. Sarah and Emma are named as co-conspirators in everything. I should be angry. I should be furious. But honestly, looking at them sitting in our living room, crying and scared, now that their little fantasy world is collapsing, I just feel tired and sad. These are the people I loved most in the world, and they've turned into strangers. Sarah begged me to help them, said she'd do anything to fix things, swore she'd get therapy, promised she'd make it right. Emma just sat there looking shell-shocked, like she couldn't believe her perfect business plan had blown up in her face. I told them I'd have my lawyer contact them. That's it. Didn't yell, didn't curse, just got up and walked away. Sophie followed me out. We drove to our new apartment, finally found a place, and ordered pizza. Sat there watching stupid movies like we used to when she was little. The lawyer says I should stay away from them for now. Let them deal with their own legal mess. He's probably right, but man, it's hard. Despite everything, that's still my wife and daughter out there, watching their lives fall apart. Sarah showed up at my office looking nothing like the empowered goddess she's been pretending to be. No makeup, wearing normal clothes for once, crying her eyes out. My coworkers were freaking uncomfortable. She got on her knees right there in the parking lot, begging me to help her fix this mess. Turns out Brad and his crew aren't just threatening to expose everything. They're demanding $100,000 to keep quiet. They've got videos of their exclusive events, aka glorified orgies, and a full client list. Sarah's panicking because some of these women are married to really influential guys in our city. If this gets out, it's not just her reputation that's ruined. Emma's finally showing some actual emotion too. She came by Sophie's workplace. Bad move. Sophie works as an accountant at this big firm downtown. Security had to escort her out while she was crying about how she didn't mean for it to go this far and how she just wanted to help mom be happy. Here's the thing though. They're not just sorry they got caught. They're actually broke. Like, completely broke. All that money they made from their little business venture? Brad's crew took most of it. The rest went to their fancy apartment, designer clothes, and those stupid wellness workshops they were running. Sarah's got nothing left from her sugar babies. Most of those guys were just in it for the fantasy. They disappeared real quick once the money dried up. The few who stuck around are now being investigated by the FBI, so yeah, Emma's reputation is shot. Turns out running a sketchy lifestyle coaching business doesn't look great on your resume. She's been fired from 3 job interviews after they Googled her name. Those social media marketing skills she was so proud of, they're coming back to bite her now that everything's public. The really sad part? Found out from Sophie that Sarah's been sleeping in her car some nights. The fancy apartment they rented? Brad's name was on the lease, real smart Sarah, and he kicked them out as soon as things went south. Emma's couch surfing between whatever friends haven't blocked her yet. They showed up at my new place last night. Sophie must have given them the address. Both of them looking like hell. Sarah was wearing one of her old sweaters, the kind of normal clothes she used to wear before all this started. Emma had this folder full of proof that they're changing. Screenshots showing they deleted all their sketchy social media, receipts for therapy appointments, a handwritten list of all the people they've hurt. It's a long list. Even a budget plan for how they'll pay back everyone they scammed. Sarah swears she's done with the lifestyle. Says she realizes now that Brad and his friends were just using her, that she threw away a good marriage for some fantasy. Emma keeps talking about how she's taking responsibility and wants to make amends. Problem is, I don't know if I even care anymore. Like, sitting there listening to them cry and apologize, all I could think about was how Sarah looked at that guy at the club, how Emma helped plan it all. The damage is done. Sophie's the only voice of reason in all this. She suggested we have a family therapy session, neutral ground, with a professional mediator. Says even if we don't reconcile, we need closure. Maybe she's right, but here's what keeps eating at me. They're not just sorry they hurt me. They're sorry they lost their comfortable life. Sarah misses her nice house and joint bank account. Emma misses having successful parents she could mooch off of. Are they actually sorry, or just sorry they got caught? Final update because I need closure, and you guys have been supportive through this whole mess. The divorce is final. Turns out having evidence of your wife running an escort service makes for a pretty quick settlement. Sarah didn't contest anything, probably because her lawyer told her she'd get destroyed in court if she did. The FBI investigation is moving forward. Brad and his main crew got arrested last week. They found evidence of similar scams in 5 different states. Emma's cooperating with the investigation to avoid charges. Sarah got immunity for testifying against them. Lucky them. Sarah's living in a studio apartment now, working at a mall clothing store. All her lifestyle clients ghosted her when everything went public. She keeps sending these long texts about how she misses our simple life and how she took everything for granted. Left her on red. Emma's moved back in with Sarah. They're both in therapy, not that it fixes anything. She lost her Instagram following when people found out what she'd really been doing. Karma's funny like that. She's working as a barista now. Quite a step down from empowerment coach. Sophie's thriving. Got promoted at work. Started dating this nice guy who treats her right. She still talks to Sarah and Emma occasionally, but keeps them at arm's length. Smart kid. Me? I'm doing better than expected. Moved to a different department at work to avoid the office gossip. Started working out. Lost 30 pounds. Even went on a few dates. Nothing serious, just trying to remember how to be social again. The house sold last month. Sarah cried when she had to sign the papers. Kept talking about all the memories we made there. Should have thought about that before making new memories with guys half her age. Got an interesting email from one of Brad's other victims last week. They're starting a support group for families affected by these lifestyle coaches. Asked me to speak at their first meeting. Might do it. Could be therapeutic. The weirdest part? I don't hate them anymore. Sarah, Emma, I just feel nothing. It's like watching strangers wearing my family's faces. They still try to act like family sometimes. Sarah asked to spend Christmas together for old time's sake. Hard pass. Sophie says I should be proud of how I handled everything. Says most guys would have lost it completely. Maybe she's right. Or maybe I'm just too tired to be angry anymore. Found an old photo album while packing. Pictures of Sarah and me in college, Emma's first steps, family vacations. Gave it to Sophie to keep. Can't look at that stuff anymore without wondering if any of it was real. To everyone who followed this train wreck and offered advice, thanks. You helped me stay sane when my world was falling apart. Special thanks to the guy who recommended my therapist. She's been a lifesaver. For anyone going through something similar, it gets better. Not easier, but better. You learn to live with the new normal. Sarah still sends me good morning texts every day. Emma keeps tagging me in posts about healing family trauma. I've stopped responding. Some things can't be fixed with Instagram quotes and fake apologies. Starting a new job next month in a different city. Fresh start. New people who don't know my story. Sophie's helping me apartment hunt. Life goes on. Edit. This is my last update. Need to focus on moving forward instead of reliving the past. Edit 2. Stop asking for Sarah and Emma's socials. That's part of the problem I'm trying to leave behind. TLDR. Divorce final. FBI involved. Sarah and Emma broke. And sorry, I'm moving on. Sometimes the only way to fix a broken family is to walk away from the pieces.